My wife cheated, calls it a mistake, thinks it shouldn't break us. We have been married for 8 years and have been together for 10 plus years. We have an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old son. My wife is also the mother of 3 children from a previous marriage. When we initially moved in together 2013, she resigned her job and was able to find an administrative position at the firm where I worked. During that time, she and this guy I knew from that business became friends, and he would carpool with her to the home and vice versa. I didn't think much about it when he would take time off and hang out at my place with me. I felt it was a good colleague connection. Before I met my wife, I knew the man. We had hung out together at Christmas parties, etc., he and his wife and me and my wife, girlfriend at the time, and it appeared like a pretty great relationship. My wife would tell me about what he told her, how his wife was pregnant, and so on and so forth, and I never made anything of it. Place during my first year in real estate. In 2020, we had an altercation in which she claimed that she was needing attention since I wasn't offering it to her. We had stopped having for months at a period, and while I'm at home, my wife spends the whole day watching Netflix. She doesn't want to put the kids to bed, and she doesn't want to do anything else after she's done with work. And I spent much of my time browsing through my phone. After 3 cancellations, I decided to plan a journey to visit my mother. I asked her to accompany me, but she claimed she couldn't because she needed to quarantine before returning to work, and that I and the boys should go. I take my 2 sons to visit my mother. While I was gone, I got a strange sense from her. She was treating me as if we were friends on the phone and over IM, which was strange and unexplained. Long story short, when I returned from my vacation, she tells me, "I believe you and I are in the process of splitting up." We haven't. Wife barely lasted about a year at that job. Except for social media, we never hear from man again. After a few years, I decided to leave my job in late 2017 to establish my own real estate firm. Everything has gone sour since I changed careers. Mostly because the first year I spent all of our funds to stay afloat, didn't generate enough money to replace my previous salary, and our lifestyle suffered as a result. To keep up with bills and house expenditures before my company could take off, I had to accept odd jobs and side jobs that didn't interfere with the start of my real estate profession. After we had our second kid, 2015, her oldest moved out, 2018, to attend college, and I started working in real estate. It was a whirlwind of events that strained our relationship. We no longer desire the same things. She would complain about my distance from her and how I was never mentally present in the home, which I confess caused me to fall into a deep melancholy, and I was in a pretty bad you don't appear to be happy, etc., etc., etc. I told her I was in a dark place and wasn't feeling emotionally well, mostly because of my relationship with her and how things weren't going as planned at work, but that I wanted to persevere, and that I think we still have a 50/50 chance of salvaging our marriage if that's how you feel. We begin the process of determining what we will do for our marriage and children, and I begin therapy for my depression. Long story short, I pull myself out of it once again by concentrating on job, exercise, and good diet. My business takes off in ways I could never have imagined, and while all of this is going on, we are sleeping together and still married. Trying to figure it out, I get a text from that dude's wife, with all of the screenshots of my wife and him talking, meeting up for lunches, calling each other babe, sending each other videos and pictures, her saying how she loves his voice and how he wants to see her, etc. Before we had the believe we're in the process of splitting up chat. Even worse, there is a text from 2013, the day I proposed to her, in which she tells him about how I just proposed to her and she had with him. I phoned her, telling her we needed to speak about this guy, and asked if she'd met him. She says yes, and there is some serious kissing going on. I confronted her with photos of her and him in what seemed to be a home, and she refused to tell me where it was because it would make it sound worse than it is. I waited a day to process everything, and the following day I told her we were simply raising kids. I don't want to be with you, and I'm leaving as soon as we figure out what we're going to do with the kids. She informs me that this was my easy way out. WTH? I didn't go out and meet with an idiot who can't count to 100, is a terrible father to his children and wife, has been in prison, and is now on probation. God was kind enough to enable me to see this person the next day. I ran into him in an office and kicked his. I informed my wife that they both believed there would be no repercussions for their conduct. My wife and I spoke once I cooled down, and she felt it was simply a little error. Did I mention her last marriage ended in adultery on both sides? She had already given up on me in my mind before she ever told me. Her actions, in my opinion, spoke louder than her words. And now I'm earning good money, have a great real estate business of 3+ years, have shed 20 pounds and eat well. Reading, etc., and she sees how I've gotten myself out of despair and am doing well, and she thinks she should retain me. But I don't understand how we can go beyond that and return to loving one another when the greatest disrespect has been perpetrated. This thing is over in my mind, and I don't see it any other way. Story 2. I, 27M, think my fiancé, 27F, might be cheating. We've been dating for 5 years, and we've been engaged for 8 months, so we're in a good place. Until a few months ago, everything seemed to be going swimmingly. Sandra first attracted my curiosity back in June of this year. I've noticed that she's gotten more distant and aloof toward me in recent months. We spoke about it, and she admitted that her job is quite stressful for her. That's okay with me. It wasn't until a month later that the doubts resurfaced. I started to observe that she would go for work early in the morning and return home late in the evening. She tried to minimize it by expressing that she is putting in more effort to get a promotion, but I don't put my faith in her. I acquired her phone records a few days ago, and they indicate that she texted a certain number of times, hundreds of times during July, according to the information I received. It was something I discussed with my older brother. 3 years earlier, the same thing happened to him and his wife. He went for work early in the morning and got home late in the evening. Absurd amount of text messages were sent to a single phone number in a short period of time. His wife had been cheating on him, and as a result, the couple split. At the end of the talk, I broke down in tears. Sandra is undoubtedly having an affair with me, and I didn't want to acknowledge it. I'm at a loss as to what to do at this time. Sandra is cheating on me, but I don't have any concrete proof to support this claim. There is just a sense of distrust. What is the best way to go about this? Update. There were many more instances of between them than just the 2 examples mentioned above. The screenshots I captured were transmitted to me, so I had a large collection. My relationship with her had come to an end at this time. I was able to confirm that she had been unfaithful to me. As a result, I decided to go even deeper and look through her photographic collection. There were pictures of her kissing and cuddling with a guy, who I assume is the same man with whom she's been having an affair with for the last year. Of course, I sent myself photos of this nature, as well as others. However, there was a video showing her, I assume one of her friends was shooting this, kicking a guy in the shins. I was on the verge of losing it and rousing her to face her, but I managed to keep my calm. It goes without saying that I sent the video to myself as well. I used this opportunity to go for about 2-hour walk. Keep in mind that it is the middle of the night, and the neighborhood I passed through is hardly the safest in the world. I was unconcerned, despite the circumstances. I was enraged at the time. After a while, I regained my composure and went to our flat. After around 3 hours of sleep, I awakened. While I waited for her to come up, I printed some of the photographs that she had sent me. She finally woke up at 6 a.m. the next morning. After she had finished her meal, I slapped the text messages onto the kitchen table. She looked at me with horror on her face. She burst into tears and started to tremble. I walked outside and took the engagement ring off of our dresser with me. She was nowhere to be seen when I returned a few hours later. It was my responsibility to call my landlord and advise him that we would not be renewing our lease agreement. I told her that I was leaving and asked that she not contact me in any way forward. I packed up my possessions and moved in with a friend for a while. Simply said, that's all there is to it. She has been unfaithful to me, and I have decided to end my relationship with her. Although she's been phoning and messaging me incessantly, screaming for a second chance, she's not going to receive one.